when you look at Daniel 9, the earliest theories, remember, these guys were not trying to prove necessarily amillennialism or preterism, or that the revelation was not written by them back in the 2nd century when they came up with these theories. They had different reasons. What they were trying to do is, one is going to be from Clement Stromata, and the other one is going to be from Tertullian's address to the Jews, okay? And what they're trying to prove, Clement is trying to prove that Daniel's 70th week is prophesying actual history that has taken place, and he's just going to take it up to 70 AD. Tertullian is basically going to try to convince the Jews that Daniel's 70th week is fulfilled, and they missed it. They missed the Messiah, okay? Because Daniel 9 is the prophecy that specifically names Messiah, okay? So they're not trying to come up with preterism necessarily with their interpretations. They're trying to prove totally different things, but it says Messiah the Prince. And so what Tertullian is going to argue is that basically this is literally how he does this. I'm going to show you in his writings in a minute. He's going to basically say, well, the first 69 weeks were from this point when the Jews left Babylon and started rebuilding the temple, and his dates are all messed up, and then he's going to take that all the way forward until the birth of Christ, and then what he's going to say is that he's going to put the birth of Christ at 0 and go from 0 to 70 AD, and he's going to say the last 70th week, each day represents 10 years, so it's very arbitrary. And then Clement's going to do something totally different, and he's going to take the 69 weeks up to Christ's birth, because that's what the prophecy says, and then he is just going to make a gap to make the 70th week, where basically from the rebellions in Jerusalem to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, okay? And if you watch Donnie over at Standing to Truth, he shows how that is kind of like a dual fulfillment, because you do have kind of like a 7-year period leading up to the destruction of the temple, and he's saying, well, that's kind of a dual fulfillment of Daniel's 70th week, which I'm not totally against that theory, but the point is you still have a gap there. You still have a gap between 33 AD when Christ is crucified and 62 AD, so you have a 30-year gap rather than a 2,000-year gap, okay? The point is you don't have any theories going around that legitimately take Daniel's 70th week from its starting point back in 444 BC, which is in Nehemiah 2, all the way up to Christ's crucifixion for the 69 weeks, and then where do you put the 70th week? And you're going to have theories come up by like Adventists and stuff like this in the 1800s that say Daniel's 70th week basically is going to take you to the middle of the week is going to be where Christ is crucified, and then the second part of the week, 3.5 years later, they're going to say they're going to say that Stephen was stoned. Okay, that doesn't work with history. It doesn't work with the timeline. You have nothing to justify that. They're just going to arbitrarily put that in there to try to make the 70 weeks fit and say it's all fulfilled. Okay. The idea that Matthew 24 fulfills Daniel's 70th week, again, it doesn't have a leg to stand on unless you can prove that the starting point of Daniel's 70th week, these 70 weeks of years, so it's going to be 490 years, is going to go from whatever date they predict to 70 AD, and there's no calculation that will bring you there without doing some funny mathematics and stretching it out, because whatever your starting point is, and these guys are going to have starting points ranging from like 437 to 458, none of them are going to add 490 years in it to take you to 70 AD. None of them, 0 of them.